Farmers are trying to capture more of the marketplace. They hear about local food trends, organic, sustainability. They hear about all these different incentives for hospitals to order more local or organic food. And how do I get in touch with these people, and how am I going to deliver it to them in a way that's going to be affordable and efficient, not only for me, but is going to be believable to that customer? What about farm to school? How can I get a piece of that? I hear all these different supports and resources to make that happen, but how do I actually get that product and from my hands to the customer's hands so they can feed more people the food that I grow?
Women used to do this 6,000 years ago. Records show that they took a basket filled with barley and they dropped it down the well and soaked it, pulled it up part way to let it breathe, put it back down in the water, let it soak, pull it back up to let it breathe. If they did that right, they became very valuable women because they made malt. This is a crisp malting in England right now. They still do this in England. It's very expensive because it's very labor intensive. This is a more modern way of doing it, where they have a steeping tank up above. When it's at 46%, they got to let it down onto the perforated floor. And then they have special stirrers that run up and down the length of that floor. This is a more modern one in Germany. This one does 400 metric tons a batch. And this is the germination vessel. This is what it looks like. It's about the size of a basketball court and about 4 feet deep.
My particular piece is certification. My office offers federal certification, 2 completely separate certifications. One is federal, and that's only for the transportation system, so that may not be appropriate here. But the other is state certification, and it's for anything that the state buys or procures. It's a whole lot of money, and everyone here knows that the state buys food. So somehow the state is getting your, well, somehow the state's probably getting your food, but you know, you may be selling it to someone else who sells it to someone else who sells it to the state. So it'd be wonderful for the state to have a direct connection to you.
No, Highway 9 isn't on here. 9 would be like here.
Do you have any finishing protocol on grass-fed?
No.
Why?
Grass-fed standard.
Yeah, but you still want consistency, don't you? That's not their job.
It's not our grass.
Well,
A grass-fed animal won't be finished. A grass-fed animal won't carry much fat on it at all because you can't feed it grain.
Depends on how you define finish, though.
Well,
No.
why?
You can
why
finish
do we
them on
have
alfalfa and
100%
get a
grass-fed?
completely different
Sure you
consistency.
can. Sure you can.
That should be a standard.
Well, the standard is that they're fed nothing but forages and grain or and grasses. That's the standard. So.
Access to the right plant material, we offer the quality assessment, the technical know-how to grow it, and to get it processed from the field in a way that will stabilize it to get it to whatever its next levels are, into the hands of the practitioner or the distributor. I was going to talk about 2 plants. I'm growing Codonotus spelsula. It's a vine. It's in the bellflower family. It grows to be 6, 7, 8 feet tall. It's a very forgiving, all of these herbs are very forgiving. Incidentally, they can cope with meat. They don't need a lot of inputs.
So, in your insurance policy, you can think all year long, if I make less than $148,750, I'm going to get a loss payment. Because that's what your guarantee is. Insurance revenue, asset protection. $148,000. So we go through the crop year, and this is what happened at the end of the year. Well, you didn't make 125 bushel, you only made 100 bushel on the corn. And then mums, everything came out good. Geraniums, your flowers did great. Your swine, you didn't make $1 a pound, you only made 70 cents a pound. And on your soybeans, okay, it was $10 a bushel rather than $8. So it was less. So this is what the end of the year, the income was. It's 125,875. So something different from the AGR and the AGR Lite. We only paid 90 cents on the dollar. Now we're paying 100% price protection. So we get through the year, 85% coverage level. You were guaranteed 148,750, and you only made 125. So RMA is going to pay you that loss difference right there.
So intercropping is not this thing where it's this magical panacea where it's always beneficial. In that there's lots of cases where there's actually less yield. So it takes a lot of experimentation. There's people doing a lot of research. So here we've got just a chart just to illustrate it. So this, we've got wheat alone with line sowing, wheat yield, so 4 tons per hectare. Wheat alone broadcasting 3.92 tons.
There are opportunities out there for people who want to get into the native plant growing area. There's some plants that nobody grows. There's also a large opportunity for growing containerized larger plants. People are always specifying they need the counties always want, if you cut down the wrong things in the wrong place, they want 6-foot tall Western red cedars or Douglas fir or hemlocks, and hemlocks grow real slowly. And I sell out, 1 and 2 gallons, I'm sold out, so someone needs to grow bigger ones. And there's other things too, if you could do street trees that are decent and natives. Again, they want a 6-foot tall tree, single stem, which is interesting because a lot of our natives, they just kind of go wild. But there are probably some varieties that could be done that way.
So this is a slide with a lot of information. The idea is at the top you have the seed grower, and that's kind of the person with the entity with the greatest stake and the greatest connection to growing seed. And as you go down this chain, down this diagram, you kind of get each step takes you a little bit farther away from the production of the seed and the kind of the core of the seed. And you can spend some time reading that, but the idea is that to really show you there's a lot of people involved in seed and food. We think of, there's a lot of people involved in food. There's the people who grow it and transport it and sell it. But all of that food came from seed. And we often kind of forget to think about what about the seed? How was it produced? Where was it produced?
Agroforestry also, because we're talking about the definition of what it is. Woody plants, crops, forage, and animals. Okay? So in different combinations, those are different systems. When you talk about agri-silvicultural systems, we're talking about agriculture, typical annual crops, combined with trees or shrubs. Okay? So silviculture is the management and the cultivation of woody plants. Then you have silvipastoral systems, which are the integration of trees and shrubs with forage, grasses and legumes, and so forth, with whatever type of animal, livestock you want to raise. Okay? And then thirdly, if you were to combine all three, it's called agro-silvipastoral systems. It's very complicated. It's a mouthful.
But what this all boils down to is communication, right? It's having an open relationship with your processor, not being afraid to ask questions, not being afraid to ask too when things don't turn out the way you want. Like, I know people that have, when they're first learning about yields, they take in an 1,100-pound live steer and they get back 400 pounds of meat in the box, and they tell me, they're like, well, I stopped using that plant because it stole my meat, right? It's like, no, that's actually what you get. Maybe when you go from a 1,100-pound, 1,200-pound animal to a 700-pound carcass to 450 pounds of meat in the box, like that's normal. But asking, saying, I don't understand. This isn't. I thought I'd be getting a little bit more, and then working through that. So communication, even for some of those conversations that